Welcome back. We have one more guest joining us. Welcome, sir, Mr. Ashok Luthra, a gemologist, and he also runs a very popular jewelry destination in the national capital. He is going to share his experience with us with respect to jewelry, gold, and various other policy aspects of it. We will go straight to Mr. Dugal. So, let's talk about that. The Honorable Commerce Minister has just unveiled a new foreign trade policy. Since we are talking about export, import, etc., and various other dimensions of gold, are you happy with it? Is there something for the gold sector, for the jewelry sector, for the exporting community from your sector?
We expected that, especially for gold jewelry. So, there is this requirement of having to give a bank guarantee towards the duty part and the VAT. Now, the duty is 10%, earlier it was 2%. Then giving a bank guarantee for the duty part till you realize the payment was
Not much of a hassle.
not much of a hassle, because the amount involved was very less. But now with gold prices say around 25,000 rupees a kilo, 10% of it, and then on top of it 1% as VAT, plus the margin which these banks and normal agencies keep. Every exporter has to give almost 12 to 14% of the value of gold as bank guarantee till he realizes the payment. So, for an exporter of
A lot of working capital is getting locked.
a good money is blocked as for bad purposes. He is not able to utilize. Now, you need money for as working capital. You don't need money to get blocked in the banks for bank guarantees for a number of months. Instead, we had suggested that all these exporters, see, duty part is only 10%. His 90% payment is also a concern. So, you take a LUT from him, at least from the status holders, if not from small exporters.
Not for all, yeah.
And then he can utilize that money.
But this time the Commerce Minister announced that, for status holder, a lot of self-certification, a lot of aspects.
That is there, but this bank guarantee aspect has not been taken care of. Yes,
So, you had some expectation from the union budget also?
we
that
had
the
been advocating that this 10% duty hike is giving rise to a lot of smuggling and other antisocial activities. We need to curb this and also get a confidence in our exporters and producers that there will be stable price for the gold. There was a very good hope that the budget would come,
It will come down probably, yes. So, what happened? So, why did it not come? Why the Honorable Finance Minister did not pay much attention to it?
I think there was a very, very solid expectation, particularly from the that industry, that it will come. I think we can't ignore the fact that while the CAD issue has been brought under control, with the petroleum prices going down and just 1.6%, I think it is compared to last year. It's very much under control. I think we are forgetting how much revenue we are getting from it. I think
on
this is
the
the first thing
side,
that
as
you mentioned.
That in March we exceeded the target.
Like you mentioned, we just got to know that, it has helped to actually bridge the target. So, I'm sure that,
But it is giving rise to a lot of antisocial
that is also a consideration.
But the CAD, sir, now, if you go back to the Finance Minister's speech, he said that the CAD is well brought under check.
Yes.
It's about 1.4%. Yes. At one stage when it was hiked, it was about 4.7, 4.8%. So, Finance Minister had a very legitimate reason to hike the duty perhaps as a fiscal tool. But sir, now that CAD is down, of course the industry expected, but
with my experience, the DRI, in the days when gold was completely banned, import of gold was completely banned, and we were, chasing,
those draconian laws of the Gold Control Act.
So that's right. I think, we have to seriously see the impact. If it's going to increase a lot of smuggling, we have to kind of weigh the revenue increase against the advantages that you'll get if you bring it down to a more reasonable level, because the incentive for smuggling, smuggling, even the official sources, from our official sources, we know that not even 1% of these
we will touch smuggling. One interesting aspect before we touch the smuggling aspect is that do you think now is the right time for the Honorable Finance Minister to reduce it, if not budget? Because what has happened is, as per the latest data, March 31st again, our foreign exchange reserves have reached $341.5 billion. That means our reserves are compatible. So why? Why do you think? I mean, now that of course reserves we are quite comfortable with.
Yeah, reserves
You
are
know,
comfortable.
so do you think this
fuel prices are, petrol prices are
under control?
Under control.
Under control. So
I think if they can bring down the prices, this will help the local industry as well. And also, as our honorable PM says,
so this is the right time to
maximum
do it.
governance, less governance. So this will also help. The idea of having increase of duty is not to earn revenue only. Correct. You need to have a conducive atmosphere where law and order situation in the country is also controlled, where nobody is encouraged to go into all these anti-social activities.
I mean, since you have touched upon law and order, I will go to Mr. Luthra, who has some experience to share with us.
Yes, sir. Sir, since I am actually into the gold trade and owning a showroom, we are also facing a lot of problems because of this. Lot of robbers across the country. They are. Your sister or your wife goes for a job outside or goes to a market wearing a chain. Hardly every day you are going to find that some criminal has snatched the chain, somebody has killed. So one cannot take that much of risk for just wearing a chain and losing one's life. So that has also impacted our sales also.
If the import duty is rolled back to some extent, this will make this thing, it will
Definitely.
have some impact.
See, the lust or the lucrativeness of it will go, I think. Now, see, the smuggling cost is 3% or so. The duty is 10 and VAT is one another. So that 7% margin makes it very lucrative for anyone, and he is tempted to go for.
So, I mean, is it 7%? We will go to Sir now to find out about. So, this is a smuggling dimension. Prime officer, why a smuggling takes place?
There are three reasons basically. First would be that the price, domestic price, is much higher than the price in outside world, mainly so far as India is concerned, Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong, mainly. Now, that is one reason. The secondly, there is control, import control. Here the government role comes. Government puts control that you cannot import more than so and so gold under these conditions, that conditions. Thirdly, the rate of duty on gold is very high. So, as you know, sometime back, India had allowed import of gold and a lot of passengers were bringing gold legitimately, paying duty, and they're clearing. But they found that even after payment of duty, it is okay. At least you don't have any bother that someday I may be raided, because they have the paper there. So, the reason for smuggling or increase in smuggling is first, to meet that demand because of the price is very high, and to circumvent the import controls, and thirdly, to avoid the payment of tax. Right. So for these three reasons, so what is the solution? One simple solution is that you just remove the control, you do away with any customs duty on it, automatically the smuggling will come down. But in that case, what will happen? Your CID will go up very high. So you cannot go to that extent, that remove all control, remove customs duty. And as Chandrahas had mentioned, the customs duty have played an important role in meeting the revenue target. How to tackle smuggling? I am firmly of the view that you have to strengthen the smuggling intelligence system and smuggling administration, anti-smuggling, sorry. Right. Anti-smuggling intelligence and anti-smuggling administrations. Right. See, the present, DRI is the nodal agency for all anti-smuggling operation. Right. But each commissionerate has a role. Right. They have a preventive units and they do take care of that. Correct. But this is quite insufficient. I'll come to that now. Now you I'll give you some idea about the different ways of smuggling that takes place, right, gold smuggling. Now, what happens is the first and foremost, we take the air route. Yeah. Air route as a passenger. Now, as a passenger, they used to come, then carry either in their body, in their jackets or pockets or some other thing, or inside the body, stomach, and even in private parts, and all those things were there. Right. So this is there. Now, how it was detected and how the anti-smuggling used to take place, very interesting. Right. Now, one is that there will be informers, right, who will be insiders, obviously. Right. There will be informers, and you know that there is a reward system for the informers. Right. But all the time you do not get it. What is more important is the spot intelligence, which the officers, by observing, they know that he is a suspect person. Now, that reminds me, after I joined the service in 1974, we were sent on the job training provision as a provisioner to Calcutta airport. And I was one day, I remember one particular incident in airport. I'll just, viewers may like it. Very interesting. So the SIU, that is in Air Intelligence Unit, the SIU, Senior Intelligence Officer, he's a very legendary figure, Mr. M.K. Seal. He later on retired as Deputy Director, DRI, Calcutta. And I think he's one of the unique cases where he got Presidential Award twice. Very, very, very rare occurrence, yes. Now, what had happened, he was I still remember, that's why, it is happening of 1995, and today we're in 2015, but I still vividly remember that scene, that I was under training, as I said. So Mr. Seal told me, just watch this person, he's coming. He's walking like a duck. You see, his legs, two legs are separated, and he's finding it difficult to leave the legs. He's carrying some heavy stuff. It might be gold, or it might be wristwatches. Those days, wristwatches were also one of the items, Seiko, Ricoh, all sorts of brands used to come. Because India had only one wristwatch company, HMT, because there's no other in India. What happens? The smuggling takes place because you can't satisfy the internal demand, domestic demand. So anyway, so he says that, I said, then why don't you catch him? Because I was a newcomer, I said, catch him immediately. He said, no, because I have to search him and I don't have that authority. I have to take the assistant collector's permission for body search. But I want to be sure. Let me watch. So when he watches, those are the days there was no security barrier and all. So there was a glass wall, and he took out a cigarette, and smoking was allowed everywhere. And he was smoking and started smoking very frequently and looking for somebody. He said, look, he has an arrangement with somebody. I don't know, some connivance also is there or not, but he is tense and he's smoking. Now I will search him. So he went to the assistant collector, got the cigarette, and he searched. And the heavy socks and the thing full of gold biscuits. It was not wristwatch. Because he was not sure. At the time he said either of two. Right. And huge is that, and not only in the socks, the sole of the shoe, the boot that he was wearing were also full of shoes. Now, this is called spot intelligence, and that's why we need trained officers at the airport. The other thing is, on the basis of information, you do it. Yes. Secondly is by air cargo consignment. A lot of times, the air cargo consignments which comes, they are also, you find I remember in Mumbai airport, Mr. A.K. Raha was the additional collector of Bombay airport. I was additional collector in special investigation branch. They made a seizure of huge, I think that time it was the biggest seizure of gold biscuits in air conditioner. Oh my God. Window type air conditioner, all put inside the thing. Obviously, it was on the basis of an information. Because these things you cannot do it in air cargo like that. Then you see the baggage also, what happens, the unaccompanied baggage, they will cover, because they go through the accessing. So they will cover the inner line with carbon paper or the lead, and then the heavy stuff would be there. So here again, the ingenuity of the officers will be able to find out whether the gold is there or not, along with some other items, gold is there or not. So these are the air part. Now you come to the land border. Now, land border, you have land custom stations. Now, land custom stations functioning and the anti-smuggling operations similar to what is there in the airport. Only thing, they're crossing the border by the land. Here again, you watch or you have an information, and then at the land custom station, as you come, you have the similar that I explained. Right. But the problem is the porous borders. Now basically our area problem is the Pakistan border is not so much problem for gold smuggling, I tell you. There's other thing about the drugs and the FICN, but FICN also fake Indian currency notes. Right. That has also come down quite a bit to the direct Indo. The reason is that the entire Indo-Pakistan border is heavily guarded by BSF. So BSF complements the customs functioning there. But still there are drugs, but I'm not going into the drugs now. So gold, we have not seen many cases to this border. But your Indo-Bangladesh border. Now, till the other day, it was a very soft spot for smuggling of gold. But now again, as you know, the fencing is almost complete. Right. But there are certain porous areas because it is something like that. As you know, the partition was an artificial partition. Mm-hmm. So the border has gone through, somebody's kitchen is in Bangladesh, his living room in India. So, and then you can't have a border. So all those, these are the areas, sensitive areas through which it takes place. But then what you see is that of late, Indo-Bangladesh border is not so much for huge quantity of gold. Right, sir. Although it is again becomes sensitive for fake Indian currency notes. And perhaps it will require another discussion with you on the fake Indian currency, which is a huge thing. But what Indo-Myanmar border is very sensitive from the very beginning. There's the border is porous, and with Myanmar we don't have any fencing. B, these areas are also controlled, I can say quite a few areas, by the rebel elements.
All right. So
I don't want to name them,
right.
but they are there. And there's Manipur, particularly in Manipur, Nagaland, that side. And so these are being taken advantage of by the smugglers. And I have a doubt that perhaps they're paying a share to those
That
rebel
must be,
elements.
must be. It's very natural. So
Yeah, there are evidences also.
Right, sir.
So now, what happened last week? The biggest seizure of gold made by DRI in Siliguri,
right,
but
sir.
it is not from Siliguri.
Kind
Gold
of
has come
Myanmar,
from
sir,
Indo-Myanmar border through Nagaland. That the area is held by the rebels, and it had come. They had obviously this cannot be a case of spot intelligence. It has to be a case of solid information, which may be through an informer insider or maybe through technology.
Right, sir,
So I'm not going into it. So what they did, since they had the first time when they opened, I was told, and motor vehicle parts, they didn't get anything. Then they found that in the inner layer of the body, the car
Inside
body, they
the
got
chassis, the-
huge, I think
yes,
87
sir.
kgs,
87 kgs, sir,
of
absolutely.
gold.
Correct.
So this is the borders have become very susceptible. No, here the point is that the anti-smuggling machinery has to be strengthened in the northeast. That is the point. Actually, it is not at all strong.
What about the Indo-Nepal border?
Indo-Nepal border is of course there, but the Indo-Nepal border again, although BSF is not there, SSB is there. Shasastra Sima
Bal, sir, yeah.
Yes, so
sir.
they are there. At least some check is there. But Indo-Nepal is not so much for gold. Indo-Nepal is for other, again, FICN and your other third country goods and all. So not so much for gold. So gold, what has happened now? This Myanmar has become, and these are your land borders. You want to say that. Now we come to what Mr. Dougal said, the old traditional through the sea route.
Right, sir.
Now the sea route, again, there are two parts. I'll come to the coastal area later, last, because this is the last part of the anti-smuggling story. In your this one on the seaside, the ports, in the ports, docks. So there again, the things are more or less same as what operation is there in the airport or a land customs station, because they are the channelized way, the sailors are coming, crew is coming, and if there's a passenger liner, passengers are coming. And the cargo is also offloaded, and the cargoes are also transfer of residence. Quite a few cases have been made. In transfer residence cases, the gold has come.
Right.
But not so much, I'm telling you, on the consignments, because they don't take that much of risk, which they took in the air conditioner, it was air freighted. And so much of gold to take the risk of getting it, because it will generally gold, the carrier will like to carry it with him or in the unaccompanied baggage in the same aircraft.
Because they cannot rely on anything.
They rely on anything
Yes,
else.
sir.
Now, again, I told you that now the most important part is the landing on the coastal areas. Now, how does the landing takes place? Now, there are two. One is the western coast, which has been very active because the gold comes from Dubai, basically. And in fact, there it is shown as export of gold figure. I was posted in Bahrain for some time in a commerce ministry post. And then when I had been to Dubai, and first thing, being basically a customs man, when I saw the export figure, the export of gold to India. So that is they maintain officially. Yes, so this means the gold which comes to India. Now these are what happened. These landings cannot take place without the help of a person who is known as a landing agent. He is the key man. A landing agent organizes all his people in the coastal area who will take care of everything, ensure that the customs officers are not having any patrol at that time, the ideal time. They will give signal, they will be in touch with and it comes in Arab dhows, which are very easily navigable. So, that's how the landings take place. It comes in jackets and all. Until mid-90s, this used to come in biscuits of 10 tolas. 10 tolas biscuits, small
now
biscuits.
biscuits gone, sir. Now we have
Now it is not there. Now it is 1 kg bar.
1 kg bar. Now it is 1 kg bar. 1 kg.
1 kg bar.
Of the size of a mobile phone.
And the size of mobile phone. But 1 kg bar doesn't, you don't think that it's a huge thing. Silver is huge. but it was small.
Like
as you say, like a
hardly
mobile
this,
phone.
hardly this.
As a 1 kg. But very heavy. So previously there used to be jackets, and the jackets, only the biscuits will come inside the pockets, number of them. So anyway, so this was their one, and the number of...
The measure was jackets. Our measure of seizure used to be jackets.
How many jackets have we seen?
How many jackets? 100 biscuits in one jacket.
The other thing is that recently, you would have noticed, within a last month, I saw it in the paper only, a huge seizure of gold in Tamil Nadu coast by DRA again. And that had come from Sri Lanka. It had come on fishing trawlers.
Right,
They are the Arab dhows coming from Dubai. There it is the fishing trawlers. So the fishing trawler, as you know, every day you see in the newspaper so many fishermen, Sri Lankan fishermen arrested by India, Indian fishermen arrested.
Yes.
These are the other thing. But the smugglers take care of this route. The fishermen with the fishing trawlers, they got the gold. And again in kg bar, 1 kg bar. But also we find sometimes for ease of carrying, sometimes this 1 kg bar also sliced into small pieces and then...
Correct.
One thing, important thing which I missed on airport, when I talked about airport, suddenly it came to my mind, is that apart from this baggage and all these things, ground staff of airlines,
Yes,
they are complicit with the smugglers were there. So they will, like for the favorite spot for smuggling in jackets is the toilet seat in the aircraft. Now, how can you leave the toilet seat, put the jacket there, unless the ground staff and maybe sometimes air crew also
air
involved.
crew also, sir,
and
absolutely.
there have been a number of cases of that.
Right, sir, correct,
And what happens, then sometimes the smugglers also leave the jackets or this thing in your basket. And something, and then the ground staff who carries this, they will get, because there has been cases. There have been a number of cases.
Lots of cases.
That
Yes.
in the garbage you find the gold because the information is there, this chap is there.
Exactly.
So what I'm saying is that, I'm trying to say that the catch the smugglers is always a cat and mouse game, like your Tom and Jerry.
Right.
Sometimes Jerry flees away, sometimes Tom wants to catch it.
Correct.
So it's a game zone, and as Mr. Chandras Mathur mentioned some time back, that when we get a seizure, we generally say the seized amount is only 10% of the actual smuggling going on. I think by some thumb rule, it is being followed for a long time.
Right,
So
correct. I mean, if we go by the World Gold Council, they are saying roughly, it has been reported, that about 200 tons, little more than 200 tons of smuggled gold landing in India. And if we go by some of the reported statistics, the Mumbai airport, they have seized roughly about close to 1 ton gold.
Right.
Last fiscal. If we look at the all
So
India
it is,
figures,
might have gone out to even more than 10% now.
absolutely, sir. So, but imagine, sir, the kind of, but who buys it? That is another aspect I was very curious, sir, that, and the jewelry sector, the jewelers, they are very keen to buy it only because the profit
goes into the
side.
jewelry trade only,
Sir,
obviously.
it's a channel. Now there are wholesalers who sell the biscuits.
Okay,
The
so again
unfortunate-
the profit aspect of it.
Yeah, so they have already a direct contact with those wholesalers who sell bullion. They sell bullion.
It goes into the trade
those
only.
bullion sellers.
So once the gold enters the country, one aspect is that before it enters, we are able to prevent it and seize it. What happens when it enters it in the country again? I mean,
No, after that, the Gold Control Act was there for that purpose, to
That's
have
gone.
control over gold. That is gone.
But
Because it
and you
created-
can't differentiate between
Then
what
you
is
can't
illegal gold or
differentiate.
not
Yeah.
illegal. You
No,
can't
that time
differentiate.
on the Gold Control Act, when we joined the service, the Gold Control Act was still there. I remember again as a provisioner in Calcutta. And I remember we had gone for a raid for 2 days. We were outside Calcutta at different places on the basis of some information, obviously, and raided number of jewelers. And every house we seized quite a bit of gold jewelry and gold which are outside. These are under Gold Control Act. But then it also led to a lot of harassment.
Of course.
So that's why it was the right step taken. The No Gold Control Act. So whatever you have to control at the import stage itself.
So that brings us to a very interesting question, sir, that so much of gold being seized. So how exactly the customs disposes it, sir? Where exactly it goes?
Well, the customs, the traditional procedure was that it would go to the Government of India Mint and they will make standard gold bars and those gold bars will then be sold. That the purity will naturally come down. It will become from 99.99, it will become 99.4%, 5%, 99.5%, and then that can be bought by anybody. So eventually it enters the mainstream of the economy.
So that money, sir, goes into Consolidated Fund of India?
Yes, of course. Like any other goods.
Okay. So it's
Gold
completely
seizure.
confiscated
Yeah,
and all
confiscated,
that.
yes.
But the bottom line is these
Like any other seized goods, confiscated goods.
It will go to
whatever rules you may have.
Yes.
The bottom line is that the smugglers will always find some ingenious way of smuggling the gold.
Yeah, that's why I said
And
Tom
we
and
have,
Jerry
to,
game.
we have to curb the need for smuggling. That margin, as I said earlier, see, there is a cost for smuggling. Smuggling is also not free. There is a cost. The cost and the duty part of it. You have to have a balance somewhere.
And then minimize.
And minimize.
You
So
cannot
that
do
it
away
is
with
not
smuggling, but
difficult.
you have to minimize.
Correct,
Like
sir.
what happens, the item changes from time to time. Gold was not being smuggled, I would say, late 80s and early 90s. What was coming was silver.
Right, sir.
And at one point, when we joined the service, silver was going out of India.
Right, sir.
But in late 80s, it was silver started getting, and this was in big bricks. I personally have this.
In fact, all the Bollywood movies, you would have, aaj truck udhar utar raha hai.
right.
That kind of stories.
The landing legend.
In the late 80s, actually, the moment the smuggler knew that we knew their modus operandi, they would change it. We used to utilize the Coast Guard
Before
and
we,
others.
sir, conclude, Mr. Luthra perhaps would like to make one point.
Sir, a lot much has been said about smuggling and gold measures and all that. I feel this is this had to be said, but this all shows the negative side of the gold trade. There are other positive sides of the gold trade because I'm from the gold trade itself. See how many of our artisans, those poor workers from Calcutta and other people, and then how many households they are having, even in the villages, they are buying. There are positive aspects of this gold trade also. This also needs to be, emphasized.
So on this note, we would like to wrap up this wonderful discussion, and I would like to thank all the panelists for contributing to this. To some of the takeaways which have emerged from this discussion is the gold trade has been very old to our convention, to our tradition, to our culture. It is very close to our heart, to a major chunk of population. Of course, the Chinese have come into competition only now, and they have occupied the numero uno position. They have become #1 importer of gold. Of course, the government of China, they never publish official data, so we don't know the actual data because we have to go by the Hong Kong data to find out. But anyway, India is #2 importer of gold, and we will continue to occupy because there has been a certain surge in the gold import, and it is contributing to the customs side. It is also contributing because of the high duty rate to the revenue side. A lot of custom collections going up. But the issues, the major takeaway, the gold trade needs to be promoted. We need to sell this to the global travelers, to the people who are visiting India as a major takeaway from us. We need to promote the Indian jewelry, which is very exclusive, outstanding and elegant. Our design, the hand making aspect of it. So many dimensions of gold. Of course, the smuggling part is very important. CAD is under check, but probably the finance minister is a little worried about the US tapering. Perhaps it's going to be the media. So probably the financial shock which needs to be absorbed by India. So we are piling up the foreign reserves. So probably there will be a stage where some rollout the finance minister may consider, if not by half, at least by 2 points, gradually in a phased manner, which will perhaps make it less lucrative for the smuggling syndicates operating from various countries, and also some certain adverse impact the gold smuggling is having on the airlines staff, maybe others, the ground staff which are getting into connivance, and too much of pressure on our preventive setups of the customs, which needs to be tightened. As the sir rightly said, there has to be a balance. Let's hope the gold trade continues to grow and the smuggling continues to come down. Of course, presently it is not. Thanking for watching us, and let me thank once again all the guests with us. Thank you, sir.